Who are you? Firestar stammered. What's your name? The strange cat looked at him blankly. It's been so long since any cat spoke my name, I don't need it anymore. His eyes spoke to Firestar of deep sadness. His voice ached with it, so that Firestar could hardly bear to listen. Do you come from Skyclan? He asked, though he was almost sure what the answer would be. The pale-furred cat twitched his whiskers in surprise. You know of Skyclan, then? A little, Firestar mewed. I spoke with a warrior of StarClan. She told me that there were once 5 clans in the forest, but Skyclan left when... Left? The Skyclan warrior's voice was full of contempt. We didn't leave. The other clans drove us out of the forest because they said there was no room for us anymore. Firestar stared at him. When he had spoken to Bluestar, she had led him believe that Skyclan had gone away of their own accord when the two-legged monsters had invaded their territory. She never told him that the other warrior clans had driven them away. Surely the warrior code wouldn't allow it? Yet he couldn't suppress a nagging thought. Would he want to give up any of ThunderClan's territory if another clan had asked for it? Couldn't StarClan do anything to help you? He asked. StarClan. The Skyclan cat spat out the word, lashing his tail. StarClan betrayed us. They allowed the other clans to chase us out like rogues. When we left the forest, I vowed that I would never look to the stars again. Hi, it's me, Spencer Grant, your Warrior Cats podcast friend. Welcome to Fourtrees, a Warriors Cats retrospective podcast. I'm here today to talk about the first Super Edition, Firestar's Quest, and I'm here with my very special guest and closest friend in the entire world, Clayton Francis. Is it cool
Actually, Spencer,
right.
I would prefer if you didn't refer to me as Clayton.
Okay.
That's my kitty pet name.
Oh, you're right.
Ever since I became a part of the new Skyclan, I've been going by Clay Strider, which is a Risk of Rain 2 enemy.
Is it a Risk of Rain 2 enemy? I was gonna say,
it
like,
is.
Wow, that's super
I didn't
cool.
really. Yeah, I mean, definitely going off I think Clay something could be a good Warrior Cat's name.
Do you think?
Yeah. I think Clay Strider's not the best. Maybe Clay.
Well, cats know what striding is, right? That's the major thing. You can't have a cat name that a cat wouldn't know about. So if I were to say my cat name is Skimbleshanks, Skimble might be a plausible warrior cat's prefix, because that just means to scramble around, but cats do not have a concept of knives, I don't think.
Yeah, or you can have an apprentice who goes from clay paw to clay tax fraud.
Clay tax fraud. Do cats have a concept of tax fraud?
I don't believe they do.
Okay.
I haven't read all the Warrior Cats books, so there could be one where they do commit tax fraud.
You could be like Clay Whisker, maybe, and your whiskers
Whisker.
are just dripping mud constantly.
I don't like this one, but okay,
No.
Yeah, we'll go with that. Clay Whisker for now. We'll say we're Clay Whisker.
We're here
If we figure out a better Warrior Cats name by the end of this podcast, I will thank you for life, honestly.
All right, we'll figure that out, I suppose. That'll be our goal. My Warrior Cat's name is Greenstripe for the time being, but that may be subject to change if the podcast gets a bump in production value again. So we'll see.
You could sort of make your own clan.
Yeah. Well, I like to think that I'm River Clan personally. I like fishies. I go to the aquarium far more often than the average person.
I like to. I think it's why did Harry Potter houses take off, but never Warrior Cats clan?
Probably because the Warrior Cats clans were very specific to the Warrior Cats situation.
Yeah.
And had less to do with things that everybody can relate to, such as trustworthiness and loyalty and bloodlust, and more to do with whether or not you're good at stalking things in the undergrowth or whether you can swim.
I mean, what wasn't Shadow Clan's thing just that they were kind of like jerks?
Yeah, basically.
And
so they got
they
that in
also
common
would
with
like eat,
Slytherins.
and also they would eat anything.
Yes, they will eat
Which
frogs
are-
and lizards.
I think those are two things that like I share in common. So I think I'm a Shadow Clan.
You think you're a Shadow Clan cat? Okay.
Yeah.
So, do you remember much about what happened in Firestar's quest as you read it recently?
I do, because I kind of read a lot of it. I finished a lot of it yesterday.
I see.
I kept having plans to read it this weekend, and then things came up, including me again getting locked out of my room. I already told you.
Yes.
Where was the only place I had access to a copy of Firestar's quest. So I did have to call a locksmith, get into my room. But yes, I am full of opinions and knowledge about Firestar's quest right now.
All right, let's see if we can sum it up real quick, just for anybody who isn't reading along with us. So,
Firestar has a quest.
he does have a quest. This is true.
Yeah.
So this is like a few moons after the events of the last book. Sorrelpaw, Sootpaw, and Rainpaw are apprentices now. Ashfur and Ferncloud are warriors. Ferncloud has had kits with Dustpelt, and Brightheart and Cloudtail are expecting. That's what I remember from the beginning.
Yes. I didn't pay as much of attention to ThunderClan this time around.
That's fair. I figured like we spent like maybe 6 chapters or something in ThunderClan before we went to Skyclan. So let's just blast through the ThunderClan.
I will say, right, one thing that's great about this book was how much just exposition for, in case you hadn't read the previous books recently, there was. Every single time someone was mentioned, there was a full summary of what they've done in the last 5 books.
Yeah, that was really nice. It was like, this is Longtail. I used to hate him, but now we're friends, And
exactly.
I was like, thank goodness. I would have forgotten about that, having read the last 5 books. But, somebody who's coming back to this for a while does have that. You'll find that's a feature with basically all of the Warrior Cats books so far.
Yeah, it's almost as if they're written for children.
I don't know what you're talking about. These are written for adults who do podcasts.
So Firestar, he has his vision. He has visions of Skyclan ancestors, and he's like, that's not a Skyclan cat, I know.
Yeah.
So he goes through this whole internal struggle about his visions, and eventually he figures out that there was a secret 5th clan that was cast out from their ancestral homelands after the Two Legs showed up.
Yeah.
And all the other clans were like, sorry, we don't got enough room for you.
There's no space in this forest. Look, there's 4 trees. I don't know what you expected.
Yeah, it's not. The podcast isn't called 5 Trees.
We don't have enough trees for more cats. It's just...
But the worst part, if I remember, is that it wasn't even like a clan leader that mentioned the Fourtrees things. It was just a random cat.
Yeah. And
there's a random cat who just yelled out, actually, I think it's this reason.
And
sort of a
everybody else is
numerology
just
thing.
This makes perfect sense. We're cats. We have there are 6 brain cells in the entire forest, I think. And none of them get used during the gathering.
And they're all owned by the medicine cats.
Basically,
right?
yeah, the medicine cats and whoever's holding the protagonist ball. Or the antagonist ball. Because honestly, the protagonist can be pretty stupid sometimes.
Yeah, I'm about to say, if Firestar is really supposed to be a clan leader in this book, but he does a lot of dumb stuff.
I think he does a lot of understandable stuff. I think, alright, so Firestar basically realizes that he has to go and refurbish this clan. Not refurbish. He has to go
No, I like refurbish. Refurbish works
He's
out.
refurbishing Skyclan. So he's like, alright, I gotta go find the descendants of these cats. And so he talks to his friends in ThunderClan, and they're like, I'm not going to run away and become a kitty pet again. Why do people keep thinking that about me? I'm going to go find Skyclan. So he asks for Sandstorm to come with him, and then after a couple of days, they decide to go to Skyclan. And they spend some time passing through Two-Leg territory, another forest. They fight a little bit. Firestar loses his wife in a flood, which I thought was pretty cool.
I enjoyed the marital issues part of this book, I will say that.
Yeah, me too. I was really skeptical about Firestar and Sandstorm's relationship as it was developing, but now that we're there, I'm like, all right, yeah, this is good.
Also, okay, can I?
Yeah, go for it.
Not to be weird or anything, but Sandstorm's kind of hot. From a warrior cat's perspective, I gotta say she is. If I was a warrior cats, I would want Sandstorm as my mate because she's out here, supporting her man through thick and thin, but she's not like, dependent. She's not like on his every will and whim. She has
absolutely not. She challenges him.
She's a really good mate, and I gotta say, like, I was impressed. I really liked her throughout the whole of it.
I'm glad you thought that too. I was like, I don't think that Sandstorm is particularly attractive. I'm not.
I mean, like in like a warrior cat.
Of course.
Yeah, like if I was a warrior cat, I would be like, oh wow.
So yeah, Firestar misplaces his wife, and then he revisits where they saw her, tracks her down a little bit, meets some kitty pets in a 2-leg village, and they kind of like make up a little bit. They never
come back.
They do not come back. I don't know why that was an important detour.
They were all given like names as well, and like it just. But then they aren't central at all, which seems weird because later on, kitty pets are important.
Yeah, like if we could have taken that time to get to know other kitty pets that were plot relevant, I feel.
I will say I think this book could have been a lot shorter.
Do you think? I think maybe there was no purpose of it being 2 times as long as a regular warrior cat.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of very unnecessary story steps.
So eventually they do manage to make it to the gorge. They come across some disrespectful rogues and kitty pets, and they find a cat called Mooney. And Mooney's like, I'm not Mooney, I'm Sky.
Because he's so into moonshine, right?
Yeah, he is super into. He's constantly just brewing his own alcohol.
He's got a copper still.
It's really weird. They never explain how a cat actually like manages to brew and then consume alcohol. Like
he doesn't actually. He sells it to humans.
He doesn't sell it? Oh yeah.
Yeah, he sells it to humans, and all of them like are really surprised. They're like, "Why? Where did this cat get this moonshine?" Mm-hmm. And you'd think they'd question it more, but they just buy the moonshine from him because it's so good. It's such good moonshine.
I suppose really good. When it comes to high-end alcohols, like there's always like a lot of them have gimmicks, and I think that brewed by a cat is a very good gimmick for an alcohol to get behind.
Hey, this is my cat moonshine.
This is good old Mooney's moonshine.
I mean, I thought it was just really interesting how all of the clans had very traditional gifts for like hunting. Like River Clan can swim. ThunderClan's good at like going through the underbrush.
Yeah.
Clan is just fast.
They're fast.
And then Skyclan was really good at brewing illegal alcohol.
Yeah, that was one of the big surprises about this book when we learn more about Skyclan culture. So Firestar and Sandstorm track Mooney down. They learn a lot more about his illegal moonshine operation. Yeah. And he tells them more about Skyclan. And he says, Firestar, you gotta reform Skyclan. Refurbishing it isn't enough. This leather is too damaged. There's no Skyclan anymore. You gotta find the apprentices and stuff. And so Firestar does that. He starts recruiting a bunch of rogues and kitty pets from around. Some pretty fun ones. There's Cherry, there's Boris, there's Clover, and Scratch.
Scratch is literally my favorite character.
Scratch is really funny.
I really like Scratch, and like I thought at a certain point he'd become a bad character, and he never does.
He never does. He's just like a good guy who like was a little shady at the beginning.
I mean, even then, he's sort of like a biker tough guy. I can see where at first he seems shady, but then you find out he really loves his daughter or something. Except in this case, it's his adopted daughter.
I love that he goes on when you first meet him. He's like, my name is Firestar asks like, hey, what's your name? And Scratch sighs and he like leans against the wall and he's like, I haven't had much use for a name for a long time. But I seem to remember my mother once called me Scratch. And then every other cat that he meets already knows that his name is Scratch. So, like, did he just make up that story so that he could look cool in front of Firestar? Oh
my god, he's actually a dork is what you're saying? I kind of like that.
Scratch is so much fun, man.
I'm just thinking about, I have a lot of comments I want to make about it.
Yeah, let's finish
let's finish the review so I can talk about all of the things I think are weird about the warrior cats.
Okay, so they bring some cats over, they rename them. There's Clovertail and Short Whisker and Sparrow Paw and Leaf Dapple. So yeah, we renamed the cats. Sky becomes Skywatcher. So that's 3 names he's been through so far, by the way. Yeah. No big deal. I guess every cat goes through that many names, but like, come on. Skywatcher tells Firestar a prophecy and then he dies the next day. And then later they find some weird looking rats and they're like, something's up with these rats. And the rats are like, hey, we can talk to you.
Well, there's one. There's one rat that can talk.
Oh, yeah, okay. So
He's
the rat...
The smart rat.
He hunts at night. He stalks at night. He's like, hey, we killed the last cats who lived here. We're going to kill you too. And so Skyclan...
Spence, I really want to talk about the fact that they really just had... He's the giant rat that makes all of the rules. Because there's the one important rat.
So yeah, the hyper-intelligent rat who has the ability to speak to cats and organizes his own kind basically terrorizes Skyclan for a little while. They recruit some new cats called Echo Song and Rainfur and Petal Nose.
So Rainfur, I think, is interesting because he's the warrior cat that doesn't get a new name.
No.
Which, it clearly shows how much they cared about him because he's instantly killed off then.
Basically. Well, he has a wife, though. I think that's important enough. Also, from a world-building perspective, it could just be that, his mother, who was of Skyclan descent, decided to name him Rainfur.
Was Rainfur one of the...
descendants? Descendants? It's implied that, basically all the cats in the gorge are descendants.
No, because it was only half of that.
Every time Firestar describes them jumping, that's right. That's how you know. They go in, they fight. Rainfur dies. Firestar dies as well. He comes back, and the Skyclan cats are trapped up the tree, as we said. Leaf Dapple gives an inspiring speech. The Skyclan cats take courage and descend the tree to murder the head rat. And then Firestar destroys the head rat, who makes all of the rules. The rat's communication is decentralized. The Skyclan cats rush out, murder a whole bunch. Leaf Dapple is yeah, we're good now. The clan sits vigil for Rainfur, and Firestar reflects on how far the group has come. Short Whisker leaves the clan for some reason. Firestar and Sandstorm realize that they have to leave as well. So Leaf Dapple becomes Leaf Star because Echo Song is yeah, she's definitely the right cat to be leaders. The Forest Star Clan takes Skyclan back, and they're yeah, you're cool, Firestar, you are free of your duty, and everybody gets to be warriors, and all the kids are apprentices now, and the end. It's a happy ending. Oh yeah, and then there's an epilogue where Firestar and Sandstorm have their two kits, Squirrel Kit and Leaf Kit. And Leaf Kit is named in honor of Leaf Star, and maybe also for Spotted Leaf, who did show up in this book.
Did I tell you that when I read the epilogue? I looked up cat gestation periods because I want to do the math to see if
Yeah, please do, because I was also curious, but I did not want to Google those three words in that order.
Yeah, I did. So the answer is that so general summary, from now on. The cat gestation period is going to be about 2 moons.
2 moons. Okay. So they got back, and then...
Yeah, they got back, and then they got busy. So I think of it as sort of a baby boomer, returning from the war.
You think Firestar is a boomer?
Kind of. No, he is before baby boomers. He's the greatest generation.
He's the great... I always felt Firestar was more of a Obama.
Why? I have a thing that I want to submit to the council real quick.
All right, the council.
This is something I've looked up right now. So this book was originally published on August 21st, 2007. Right. 2007.
Oh, okay.
As Wikipedia is telling me right now.
All right.
Firestar's
I believe the Wikipedia.
And it includes a character named Rainfur. Mm-hmm. The first iteration of Rainforest, the long-running furry convention named Rainforest, was August 24th to 26th, 2007. And I know that means by definition they have no relation to each other, but I'm just saying one was kind of weird.
Yeah.
Maybe for all we know, Rainforest had its name changed to Rainforest because one of the furries, read Firestar's quest in 3 days, and I have a great new idea for this name.
Do you think that maybe the Aaron Hunters decided to name Rainfur after the furry convention
that is also a possibility? They saw it coming from. I don't see
how big the crossover was between their child fans and the Rainforest furry convention.
I don't see any other reason why they would name a cat Rain.
That is there is basically none.
And again, it was published in the same week.
That is crazy.
It's pretty clear here.
I am surprised to a great extent of how you managed to pull that. out of the ether.
I had a lot of points in this book where I just looked up kind of weird things. To be like, what about this? I have a question, right?
All right, let's hear it.
The barn that the rats come out of. Mm-hmm. Was that an actual barn? Because for some reason mentally, I sort of envisioned it being a building that wasn't a barn, but that Firestar just didn't know what it was, so he just compared it to being a barn.
Oh, that's an interesting thought. I hadn't considered that.
Because he explicitly says, it has a hard floor. It doesn't, and it's like metal, and it just doesn't sound that.
It could be like a metal barn.
Barn-like?
I know, like for you as a city boy from Philadelphia. Like a lot of whenever you think of barn, you think of like the the red buildings made out of
wood. The Lancaster. Well, I mean,
yeah. There are metal barns, and an important thing to note is that
Spencer, I've seen the Amish.
Oh yes, of course. All right, you're right.
And they don't believe in using metal. It is
that's true.
Material.
It's the devil's wood. There are metal barns that do exist. It is, but you're right. It like could have been something else. Maybe that Firestar only had like he does have conceptions of two-leg nests. So I think if it was like similar in construction to a two-leg nest, and he chose to refer to it as a barn instead, that suggests that like its use was to some extent agricultural, or at least there were like surroundings that would have denoted it as such in the eyes of a cat.
I mean, when I first read it, I don't know why, but for some reason mentally, hey, it's an abandoned church, which I think would have been way cooler.
That would have been way cooler. I don't know
if any
churches
in an abandoned church.
I don't know that any church has ever been made out of steel. But that considering that it is the devil's material,
the Robo Church. Yeah, the Robo Church. There it is. It's the Church of Robotology.
All right. I mean, that honestly that works for me. If we want to say that the fight between the Skyclan cats and the rats was the robot church from Futurama when it got broken down.
Yeah, I think it would make it a lot cooler.
Yeah, all right.
Hey Spencer, I got another big old questionino.
What's your questionino, Clayton?
Why did the cats nod for like affirmative?
What do you mean nodding?
So I noted it in like early on.
Yeah.
Some of the warrior cats nod their heads up and down as a way to, affirm something, like to say yes, right? Why do they do that? That's like a specifically human.
Cats can dip their heads, like it might be a respect thing, maybe.
No, but they nod them like up and down.
True.
It explicitly, there's a passage where it says, "Oh, he nodded to confirm." Like, why are they nodding like that?
I think in a lot.
Where did they learn that?
I think in a lot of cases, this might be, how like the Lord of the Rings was supposedly originally written in Elvish, and then the fiction within that book is that J.R.R. Tolkien translated it from the original Elvish into English, which meant changing some of the characters' names into things that English speakers would understand. Like Merry and Pippin used to have names that sounded a lot more foreign, but their names in Elvish meant something that was happy, so their names changed to Merry and Pippin in the English versions. What I'm saying is that maybe these books were originally written in cat language, and so they used cat cues that humans wouldn't necessarily understand, and the Aarons, while translating it from cat language, just changed certain things that they knew that humans wouldn't get or be able to parse. So maybe there's like another kind of cat agreement that just doesn't lend itself quite as easily to language, and the Aarons are just like, they nodded to make it simpler for us and our tiny brains to understand.
Right, so you're saying that the Aarons sort of went into the woods and found literal cat scratch, which was the cats scratching out, their tales of yore. I
think that Warrior Cats is based on a true story, and I will not accept anything to the contrary.
You know what's a cool thing?
What's a cool thing?
Also made me realize.
Yeah.
Warrior Cats are American.
What are you talking about? Sorry.
Let me explain. Right.
I'm sorry.
They fight a badger in this book.
They do fight a badger in this book.
And the badger is described as having a yellowish white tint to its fur, which sounds more like an American badger than a European badger.
But the books take place, but the forest that they live in is based on a forest in Dorset.
I am fully convinced that they are American. They are American cats now.
And Firestar says rubbish a lot. He's like, this two-leg rubbish,
Then why are they fighting an American badger?
Maybe it's like a pet that somebody brought in to the UK and then like let it loose by mistake.
I'm just saying the description of of the
That's
badger.
how lionfish in the Atlantic happened. You know, if you were reading Shark Tale and it took place in the Atlantic and you saw a lionfish, you wouldn't suddenly be like, this takes place in the Pacific, because, you know, maybe there are lionfish in the Atlantic. There are.
I don't think anyone's brought an American badger.
Let me just Google this real quick so that for the explicit purpose of proving you wrong.
I am fully convinced. American badger.
In the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. No, there is nothing. You're right.
I am fully convinced with the description of a badger now that this takes place in while it may be based off a English forest, I definitely think it's.
I can't believe
it's an American. I mean, well, no. So here's another question, right? Like juniper berries, right?
Yeah,
Are juniper berries like exclusively
endemic?
Where are juniper berries?
I do not know the answer to that question. Actually, the next guest is going to be a botanist who I'm going to ask about all of the different plants, because I've been taking notes of them. But I cannot answer you as to where juniper berries grow naturally without Googling it first, which is what I'm doing now.
I mean, listen, I'm just now very staunchly in the Warrior Cats takes place in an American forest camp. They are American.
Juniper berries are found in the Northern Hemisphere. Great.
Wow, that is
so helpful.
That helps.
So we know this doesn't happen in Australia then.
I also say they have a gorge, sandy moors and stuff.
That is a pretty...
That feels pretty American.
You're right. There is... I haven't encountered too many deserts or sandy gorges in my time in the UK. Actually, one of the things that tripped me up was like when they talk about the mountains and stuff, there aren't any mountains in Dorset. Like, basically, the highest mountain in Dorset is a sneeze, in my opinion, compared to the mountains at home. So, maybe, just maybe, the Warrior Cats books take place in a nowhere.
An American.
Nowhere. Maybe they're in, like, Canada. Canada has deserts.
I mean, they do, but then it wouldn't really be badgers they'd have to worry about. I think I'd really enjoy, seeing the Warrior Cats have to war. I think they definitely die. I don't think the Warrior Cats could fight.
I feel like that would be a really unsatisfying conclusion to an arc.
I mean, they fight the badger and one of them dies. And that's just like
true.
A regular, like...
Yeah.
Badger.
The White Storm's widow dies to the badger. It's very sad.
And then it also doesn't come up again.
It does. Well, like, he's too busy doing Skyclan stuff. I can't pay attention to ThunderClan. I'm too busy fixing Skyclan, refurbishing it, patching up the leather.
Hey, Spencer.
Yeah?
Can I stay on badgers for a second?
Go for it.
I've never told you.
Okay.
But as a child, I was incredibly afraid of badgers.
Really?
And I'm fully convinced at this point that it is due to the Warrior Cats books.
That's really interesting. We've never had a confession like that on the show
That
before,
is my confession. When I was a child, I definitely think it was some media because I had never seen a badger. The thought of a badger like terrible.
What about like the honey badger video where it's like the funny guy who's
not
like,
even it.
Okay, no,
not even like a honey badger. It was specifically
the
American
badger,
and European badgers terrified of conceptually.
Okay.
And I definitely, like, it faded. I don't think I fully got over it until I finally saw a badger in real life when I was in England. Mm-hmm. And I saw that European badgers, in fact, run like little puppy dogs.
Yeah, they're adorable.
They are adorable. Which is another reason why I am convinced that, the badger, the bloodthirsty badger described in the Warrior Cats book isn't. Because there's no description of this badger running around like a little puppy.
That is true. I'd assume if the Warrior Cats thought that the badger was cute, they would say something about it. I'm waiting for a raccoon to show up. If a raccoon shows up in Warrior Cats, I will concede that to you. But for now, I'm like, I think it's in nowhere. Now, I want to talk about a goof in the very beginning of the book that really caught my eye as somebody who read the last book. There's like, at the first gathering, Firestar, like in his internal monologue, is like, StarClan told me that there were always 4 clans in the forest. This is untrue.
What? It's just a lie.
StarClan said that there were 5 clans in the forest, but in the last book, you assumed that they were referring to themselves. Anyways. Also, yeah, there was Skyclan in the forest, and they did lie about that. He gets, like, kind of understandably upset about that, to be honest. But, like, how do you feel about Firestar's feelings towards Skyclan in this book? Or StarClan, rather.
Yeah, I feel like I mix up Skyclan a lot.
They're both in the sky. What's the point of naming them like that? Call them Air Clan. No, that's Wind Clan. Dang it. Ah, God.
Yeah.
All the good clan names are taken.
So, I mean, there could have been like wait, they're in like the desert. Why weren't they?
That's a good. Well, originally they were just like jumping around trees, right? It was another moor, but it had a lot of trees. Wait, Clay Desert. That could be like a cat name.
Clay Desert.
Yeah. Okay. No.
We'll
Figure. Yeah. Sorry. Okay, and that's all the time that we have for today. I'd like to first of all give a big thank you to Clayton for being my guest. You'll get to hear the rest of our discussion sometime next week, but for the time being, as we're getting used to having guests, I think it's prudent just to have each particular guest and episode split into 2, and then I'll start doing these 2 a week. 2 a week might not be sustainable in terms of the future, but for the time being, it's just a little bit easier for me. And honestly, I had so much fun with this conversation that it was just hard for me to cut out stuff that, I felt shouldn't make the podcast. Like, honestly, Clayton is really funny and I like having him on, and it was a blast. So, I hope that you enjoyed Fourtrees, and I hope that you enjoyed our very first guest episode. I hope that more episodes in the future end up being like this, because this was a lot of fun for me, even though figuring out the technical stuff was a bit of a hassle, because this is my first time editing a podcast with 2 people in it, that's a something. So, I've been Spencer, you have been wonderful, and join us next week for continued coverage and making fun of Firestar's quest. And then our next guest will be a botanist who goes by the name Silverleaf, who will be teaching us all about the medicine cat stuff, and we will also be discussing Blue Star's prophecy. And then in the future, we're going to have a guest on for the first book of the new prophecy. But until then, let's not get ahead of ourselves. I've been Spencer, you've been beautiful and wonderful and perfect, and thank you so much for listening to Fourtrees. Bye!